best advice that I have for a player in this situation is to get the heck away from this table. Welcome back to my channel. I'm the DM Seth, and today we're going to be going over a couple fun pieces of Reddit advice that I found on r/DND. So buckle up, like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, and stick along for the ride. The player wants to use a spell that you know won't work, but they don't. You tell them it won't work before they cast it. So, for example, my players were fighting Sea Hag, which is a type of Fae. My players didn't know this about Sea Hags. One of my players asked me, "Can I use Charm Person on the Sea Hag?" Without thinking, I said, "That won't work because Sea Hags aren't humanoid." He chooses a different spell, and the game continues. But later, I wondered, would I have just said yes? Since my players don't know the Sea Hag is a Fae, it's arguably more realistic to let them find out that certain spells don't work after they cast the spell. But also, my players are only level 2. And have barely had any spell slots. I know as a player, I would be annoyed as hell if I wasted a spell slot on something that wouldn't work. If I had been told earlier that Sea Hags are Fae and I just forgot, I'd take that L. But that wasn't the case here. The Sea Hag in this fight just showed up out of nowhere, and Sea Hags had never been previously mentioned in the game. So what do y'all think? So what I would say with, giving your players agency and respecting their own intelligence is maybe it's not always the place to interrupt them and say like, "Hey, are you sure you want to do that?" Because I don't know, sometimes you can feel a little stupid if something like that happened. So what I would say to my player in this situation is, this is another thing I could do, or that I would do, is just be like, "Okay, well, go ahead and roll Arcana for me." And then if they get like 10 or up, which is a pretty simple roll, you could be like, "Hey, your character would know that this spell doesn't work on Fae creatures." And then boom, problem solved. They got to do a roll for it that they would most likely succeed here. If you're really worried about them succeeding and wasting a spell slot, you can give them advantage on it. And then if they still fail the roll, you could be like, you're not quite sure if it would work. And even in that case, you've given enough information to the player to where they would probably change their mind anyways, because you had them roll for something and they failed. They'd be like, not sure I want to do that. Maybe I'll cast the spell instead. Boom. You solved the problem, you gave them agency, and it's not even a big issue anymore. So that's honestly probably what I would do. I'd just be like, "Hey, go ahead and roll Arcana for me." And they'd be like, "Why?" "Well, I mean, let's roll, and then I'll tell you the information you may or may not know." Boom. Nice and easy. So yeah, I think this one's relatively simple. It's just the thing I worry about is accidentally like insulting my player or something, given that maybe they just actually don't know, which is fine. Like, there's times when I've tried to cast Hold Person on a monster and it didn't work. I've done this before, so it's not the craziest thing in the world to think a player would try to cast Charm Person on a Fae creature. All right, let's continue. DM prep is killing my enjoyment of the game. How can I make this more bearable? I've been DMing this game reasonably consistently for over a year now, after DMing a couple of one-shots beforehand over the last few years, mostly running every other week unless we need to take a break for some reason. I've been using the lazy DM 8 steps for quite some time now. Okay, pause. I love the lazy DM style. I personally go off of this. I'm very good at improving things, so DM prep, I'll probably have a lot more to say once we finish reading this, but yeah, the lazy DM style totally works for me. But this method still takes me longer to prep a session than actually playing that session. Sometimes I've spent 5 hours prepping last minute for the player to just speed through it all in just an hour. Then we have nothing to do. I'm running the game from a setting book, so half the work is already done for me, and I'm still taking forever to prepare. I'm terrible at improv. I've played this game over 5 years and never improved very much on that skill, so going in without anything much at all isn't an option. Are there other steps I should be taking instead? Everyone else who has DM'd in my group spends far less time prepping than me, but seems way more prepared. Edit: I don't spend a lot of time on encounters. I find selecting half a dozen or so stat blocks of roughly the appropriate level and noting down the 2024 DMG's XP budget for however many players I have works great. This might be the one thing I can easily improve. I can easily improv, my bad. If I have time, I'll probably think of something environmental to make the encounter a little more dynamic. Okay, so this person is spending 5+ hours prepping, and I just have to ask what they're doing in that time. Are they typing out every little detail and every little description? Because I have a buddy I know, Drew from the Table Talk Friday D&D podcast. he is this kind of person too, where he'll spend a lot of time thinking and mulling over details. And realistically, what it comes down to in a lot of these games is details aren't nearly as important as a good backdrop. So I've found I run virtually as well because my players are all over the U.S. I have found that running a game virtually, you can easily just find some maps. Here, look, I'll even show. If you need maps, just go on something like Chepuku. I first of all, not sponsored by Chepuku, but and I don't even have a subscription myself because I'm usually pretty good at finding my own maps through people that I like. But like, here's a one-stop shop for all the maps you need in the world. Click on maps, you know, do your subscription or whatever. Boom, you can have a forest pass, all of this stuff. This will easily make all your map finding a lot more simple in the future. So if you got a little bit of extra cash, do that. But outside of map prepping, like, give them a good backdrop. AI, while should not be used for every single little detail of your session, I've shown it in other videos here on the channel that you can use that to speed up that prep. Hey, I would like a description for what a building in this setting would look like. Please describe it for me. Boom, you've got a little bit of narrative stat block. Not narrative stat block, but you've got a little bit of flavor text that will help you describe the building, and you can move on with your players from there, not even having to think about it. Or like, if you want creative magic items, right? You can, one, make it up, or two, you can do all your magic items completely from the DMG, or just go on Google and look up magic items, and that'll cut off a whole lot of time, because not everything has to be done by you. Not everything has to be fully curated, because guess what? Like you said, your players storm through it in like an hour of all that 5 hours of prep that you did, and that's not fun. It's not fun to have your whole campaign just sprinted through because what you prepared for isn't what happened. And this comes up all the time in D&D. I've told the story before on the podcast. You realistically cannot be prepared for everything the players might do. My players, like I said in one of my story times, completely went off the beaten path, chose to do something I was not expecting at all, and it was the best session, the single best session of the entire campaign, because there was a lot of stakes, but just let the players decide what they want to do, and if those things come up, you are always free to say, hey, give me 5 minutes to come up with something. As far as tips go for preparing your virtual tabletop in those situations, one thing that's okay is you can just pull open all their tokens, throw it on a blank Roll20 map, and theater of the mind the rest. On top of that, if you ask for those 5-10 minutes, it should be nice and simple for you to quickly open up like a Chepuku or some other place where you can find battle maps, throw one on there, and then from that section, just start branching out. Be a little slower, be a little more methodical. And as far as, yes, you wanted to pad it out with combat time, I think that's a fine idea. If you can make your combat last a little bit longer, or make it a little more intense for the players so they have to think about some things. I'm not saying like make combat an entire session, but I think it should be a set piece. Like they shouldn't easily be wiping out your encounter and then moving on to the next thing immediately. If your players are, steamrolling your encounters, make them a little tougher. And yeah, I think that's about all I have to say on this one, because realistically, yes, you've been doing this for 5 years, but it seems like there's still some practice with timing that you need to do here. I for a while accidentally planned like 4.5, 5-hour sessions for a lot of a campaign, and now all of us, I feel like, time our sessions to like 2.5, 3 hours, which is perfect for our adult schedules. Let's move on though. Not sure how to handle this DM. This DM seemingly dead stopped his own campaign from poor planning and thinking ahead. Oh, yikes. His BBEG is some orc god that kills other gods to force his physical manifest. Wait, so he's Kratos? Is that what you're saying? while coercing people through the weave with a song to force orcs, goblins, bugbear, adjacent races to build towers to focus this goal. I mean, that's pretty interesting, pretty cool. DM has the towers rebuilt faster than we can travel. It takes us 5-hour sessions to move 2 rooms, not from us players. It's the DM just seemingly making conflicts at every turn. We are 50 hours into this campaign and had 3 character deaths on myself. Yo, what, 50 hours? That's like minimum 9-10 sessions, and then maximum probably like 15 to 20 sessions. What? 3 character deaths in that time? My question was, I was able to ask a being 5 no BS questions, just straight answers. So we can't destroy these towers fast enough, and there's no way to kill all gods and orcs. I don't think he'd let wish spell work. The last session he killed me for not trying to PvP the other 2 players, as my new character was a sea smuggler and we're forced onto a pirate island, and my captain told me to talk to the captain of captains. I used a dirty 20 against this troll captain to say I would use a ship to finish the contract with the current players and give him all the treasure I get to him as a tithe. I just wanted to make the story, to move the story back forward. He refused, and I said I walk away, and he attacked me. The troll had 19 AC with a multi-attack crit for 70 damage. Moved 60 feet with dashing and used a legendary action to charge / grapple / prone me. I only have 16 AC at level 7 with 58 HP. It seems like he's just trying to kill us rather than tell a story. We were only 2 hours into the session before he killed my new character. I refused to make another after the last session killed my last. Oh my god. Okay, let's think about this. Best advice that I have for a player in this situation is to get the heck away from this table. Like, that is not cool. It's not cool to just make the story and like make the problem impossible to solve. That's a big thing in D&D is you are heroes or villains, whatever, and you have an issue and it needs to be solved. And that's the whole crux of it. You get a quest and you have to solve and finish said quest. But it seems like this DM is making it so the quest, oh, I didn't even go over to this. It seems like this DM is making it so this quest is impossible to solve. So what's the point in playing the session if you have a quest and you can't solve it? On top of that, the fact that you made a new character and your DM was just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna take out this character because he didn't do what I wanted, is toxic as heck. That's not cool. I would one, like some people, I don't know if you're like this, take a long time to make a new character. And I mean a long time. There, like the other day, I was helping my wife and one of her friends make characters, and it took us like a good 4 hours to like not like start and finish. We were all talking in between as well, doing other things, but it took a long time to make a couple of characters at like level 3. Like and that's because, you know, not everybody's experienced. They need a lot of things explained to them, and that's okay because it's D&D. So yeah, I don't know where he thinks, I don't know why he thinks he's like all powerful here. You should not be allowed to do that to your player. And I would just strongly advise against antagonizing your players like this. That's insanity. So yeah, I think that your goal should be to get away from this table, and instead of trying to solve the issue, it should be to completely find a new group. Find a new group who respects your time. That's it. All right, let's continue. How long should it take to get the hang of it? D&D. Hi, so I'm fairly new to D&D. My friend just invited me last month, and I do enjoy playing the game, and my friends are like very helpful and patient with me during sessions, but I just want to know, how long do people usually take until they master / become familiar with mechanics and rules? I just want to be able to like stand on my own feet because I don't want to be a burden to my friends when playing. I guess I want to know, how long did it take you guys to get the hang of the game, and what do you guys do to get there? Thank you. This is a great question. Okay, so for getting the hang of D&D, it's different for everybody. For the longest time, Patrick, one of my buddies, we always made fun of him because we would say, oh, he's the new player at the table, because he was a very new player when he started playing in our campaign. And then like 2 years later at the end of the campaign, he was still making some beginner mistakes, and we'd be like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, guys. 80 sessions in, he's new. So some people can take longer than others to remember and understand everything. Luckily now he's very experienced. It's been 9 years. But something that I would say is my friends and I all got experience pretty quickly, but only through like different means. Some of us, myself, Zach, and Sean just played a lot. We were playing pretty often. Sometimes we would play multiple times a week at college because we had some spare time. And so we played a whole lot, and most of us were watching live play shows as well. I was watching Critical Role, which really helped me understand the rules. I know Zach was watching Chris Perkins' Curse of Strahd campaign, and then he ran Curse of Strahd for us. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it, but I think watching a lot of material or just watching people play D&D can help you understand the rules better because you're watching it in real time. So yeah, live plays are a good way to understand and practice, understand and get through all the terms, but as well as, just playing. How long might that take? I don't know, a couple months. I kind of treat it the same way that I would like when I was coaching at a Ninja Warrior gym. I was a trainer there, and I would tell people most of the time, they'd be like, well, how long does it take to like get good at being like an American Ninja Warrior type person? I'd be like, if you're already physically active, like 6 months. Like in 6 months, you'll be pretty good. If you're not physically active at all, you're gonna need over a year to get yourself in shape while also trying to do Ninja Warrior stuff. I would kind of treat it the same here. If you are not familiar with any kind of like game mechanics, if you just work at the same bank as someone and you jump in to D&D for the first time, don't play much video games, probably gonna take you like you're in the entirety of your first campaign to not be asking questions anymore, to just know. But if you are familiar with video games, you're kind of a nerd, and you watch some live plays and stuff, and you just finally get to play for the first time, I don't know, a couple months, maybe even just a couple sessions, and you'll understand it. It really depends on the time you're willing to put in. But it's also just okay to be new. Like, it's never been a burden at my table if someone doesn't know something because they haven't played. We have had multiple people's like girlfriends or other friends jump into games with us before, and guess what? They end up figuring out the game, asking lots of questions, and we always have a lot of fun having new players at the table. It's not a bad thing to be inexperienced at something and want to learn it and play it. And it's also very fresh to have someone at the table who doesn't know everything, because then you get some more creative moments out of them. So I wouldn't even worry about this too much, honestly, because it's fun to have new players at the table. And that's my 2 cents. Last but not least, ideas for a campaign for a beginner DM. I'm beginning my first time hosting my own campaign, and I can't think of anything good. I want a campaign that's fun and somewhat long. Any ideas? Yes. Campaigns that are fun and somewhat long. Lost Mines of Phandelver. I will always recommend that, or Dragon of Icespire Peak. Those are 2 really good ones that give you a lot of options. It's kind of sandboxy, so your players have this tiny little region they can go anywhere in. Lots of fun NPCs and quests to accept from them, as well as, if you want it to be long, it expands into Phandelver and Below the Shattered Obelisk, which is, I think it goes up to like level 12. So you take your little 1 to 5, and then it expands all the way to like level 11 or 12. And yeah, if you want it to be somewhat long and people are actually going to stick around, yeah, Phandelver and Below Shattered Obelisk, Lost Mines of Phandelver is a good story all by itself. It's a classic too, so letting people get a piece of D&D history, a piece of 5e history especially, is always a good idea. So that is my best advice. If you want something a lot more interesting though, and your players may already like be good at role-playing or something, go through Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Waterdeep Dragon Heist is a super fun 1 to 5. It'll be like 10-11 sessions that you'll really get to the meat and potatoes of what D&D is. And then on top of that, you can take that into literally any other big campaign. You want to go into Curse of Strahd, go into Curse of Strahd. You want to go into Storm King's Thunder, go into Storm King's Thunder. Descent into Avernus, just go into it. Like, especially if your players like Baldur's Gate 3 a lot, like you could throw them straight into Descent into Avernus afterwards and be like, hey guys, this is the prequel story to Baldur's Gate, and they'll be like, what? No way. And have them play through it. It's really cool. It's a really good campaign. Though I would recommend looking up some story changes because it can get confusing at times. But yeah, as far as being a beginner DM, run something. I think running a module is a lot easier than running something completely homebrew. So I would recommend running a module, but then if you see something that you're like, that's confusing, or I don't really like that a lot, feel free to change it. You are the DM now. Congratulations, you've stepped into the world of DMing. It's your time to learn how you like to DM, what you like to DM, and make yourself better and better at it. Thank you guys for joining me today for some bits and pieces of D&D advice. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Leave a comment down below kind of giving your advice on all of these questions, and let me know what you think of sort of the advice that I gave. All right, see you guys in the next one.